Oh, yeah. Let's just put it by the Galaga machine. And can you check the quarters on Tron? Thanks. Yeah, appreciate it. Good stuff. Oh, hey, Bob.
Buck, what is happening?
Well, Bob, you're dreaming. This is the arcade where when you were younger, you used to skip school. Remember that?
Skip school. I didn't do that.
You would skip school and come spend all your
money.
money.
I didn't do that. No.
So you must have been dreaming about something to keep you up. What's going on?
Well, I've got to do the keynote at SQLBits whenever we get to London, so I've been kind of dreaming about what I'm going to do because I don't know what I'm going to do yet.
You don't have it done already?
Well, no, I'm prepped for that. We're not ready for it yet. So, but yeah, I've been thinking about it. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Well, I'll tell you what. While we're in the dream, why don't you do this? Why don't you act like you're going to give the keynote right now? Just pretend there's actual people out here.
Right here?
Yeah, right here in the arcade.
Well, I'm not ready. I'm not ready for it.
That's all right. If you get through it and you get stuck, I'll help you. All right?
We just kind of roll with it and try it?
Yeah, just pretend you're on stage right. What would you say if you were at Bits right now? Here, come over here.
Okay, like this?
Yeah, just like this, and just be all corporate and act
like this? Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. And I just start?
Just start.
Okay, so what's my name?
Buck Woody.
I'm Buck. I'm not Buck Woody. What's my name?
Bob Ward.
I'm Bob Ward from
Microsoft.
Microsoft. I'm Bob Ward from Microsoft. Welcome to SQLBits 2022. I want to take a second to thank all the volunteers that are making this happen. SQLBits is back. Hey, do it again. I want to hear it across the entire place. And online.
This is the only time in a dream where you'll get thunderous applause. Yeah.
Hey, seriously, all of us are troubled and pained by events going on in Ukraine. To all our SQL family and colleagues in Ukraine right now, our thoughts are with you. Our prayers are with you. Our heart is with you. Stay strong. You know, at Microsoft, we believe in empowering others to make a difference with our knowledge. Coming to events like this, showing you products and innovations that are new of what we're doing in technology. But we love giving back to the community as well, in the places we travel. I'm proud to tell you tonight, our team is traveling to the Greenwich Food Bank for a volunteer event. Our speaker fees from training days are going to that fine organization here locally. I encourage all of you to find a cause, give generously. Something you're passionate about, go pay it forward.
That's pretty good. You're going to open with that.
You know what? I think I might open with that. That's not bad.
I think it's a good opening. Yeah, let's do it. Okay,
keep going. Okay, keep going. You know.
Remember, you're corporate.
I'm corporate. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I think about Azure Data, about all the products and services that work with Azure Data. Sometimes I just wonder if these things are connected with each other. But I think about what we launched with SQL Server 2022 last fall, and it kind of fits together for me. If I think about built-in query intelligence to power you, no code changes to get you faster. If I think about an industry-proven engine with security, scalability, and availability. And I think about some of the great new Azure connected features. How about managed instance for disaster recovery? Or near real-time analytics linked to Synapse? Or even using Purview for central insights and governance for your data. All of these together, to me, make me start feeling a little bit more connected with all of Azure Data. So if I start with the first area of built-in query intelligence, the pain, as you know it, is query tuning being expensive, time-consuming. So what are we doing about it in SQL Server 2022? Well, first of all, we're delivering the next generation of intelligent query processing capabilities built into the query engine. Powering you gets you faster with no code changes. We're trying to light up new scenarios that you struggle with, things like degree of parallelism workloads, or how about cardinality estimations from the new CE model? Even trying to save the world from parameter sniffing. All those things together are scenarios and more that we're trying to bring into the product built into the engine. And we'd like to leverage the power of Query Store to light up some of the feedback technologies, but also turn it on by default and finally giving you query store for read replicas in SQL Server. These kind of things are the innovation we think they're going to help with these time-consuming query processor operations. What do you think, Buck?
I like it.
You like it? Is it pretty cool? Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
So
I got a problem.
What?
I didn't do a demo. I don't have a demo.
You don't have a demo for this?
No, I don't. No.
Are you going to build one?
Well, I'm not ready for it. So you said it was a dream, so I guess I don't have one though.
Does anybody have one?
Well, if anybody's got one, it's Pedro Lopes, you know.
Pedro?
Yeah, Pedro. Yeah.
Well,
Pedro knows it.
Well,
so.
let's bring him up.
What are you talking about? I don't know where Pedro is.
It's a dream.
He's not here.
It's a dream. You can do whatever you want.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a dream. We're not going to take him to
We could just say, I would love to have Pedro Lopes here do a demo for me?
Yeah, we're not going to take him to bits, but you could get him up here right now.
In a dream?
In a dream. Let's
Really?
go.
Are you serious?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
All right, welcome to SQLBits. And for the demo today, I'm going to be using SQL Server 2022, CTP 1.3. And I've created this store procedure, get product transaction history in my AdventureWorks. And let's look at the definition of the store procedure here. We see there's a product ID parameter. And this parameter will be used to then get from the table transaction history bulk the quantity of items sold and the average cost for those items. So I'm going to simulate like a application working here. And for that, I'm going to use OStress, running this same store procedure 1,000 times. And I'm using a performance monitor with batch requests per second to just monitor the throughput of the application here. So I'm going to run this with compat 150 first, or any lower DB compat. Okay, it's started the execution. And this simulates essentially the behavior that you know today for any parameterized query, which is the first time it's compiled, the plan gets cached, and that cached plan then gets reused for any subsequent execution with any parameter. So we see here the throughput of the application, and it's not great. It's not what I was expecting. And we see that now executing with product ID 1. So this would be representative for most of my executions. But you see, again, the throughput is really poor. 7, 8 batch requests per second. This is not what I'm expecting from this application here. OK, so I can use the query store to look at some interesting data. Now, the query store is not needed for this feature to work. However, it gives me important information that I can take a look to understand what's happening. And I see this query here. It's the query that I'm running inside the store procedure. And it's being driven mostly by this cluster index scan, which you see the cost is fairly high. And the parameter here, the compiled parameter, is 707. So remember, I just showed you that it was running with parameter ID 1, and this is parameter ID 707. So that's why I got this plan, and it's remained in the cache, and it's getting used for any other execution. If you look at the grid mode here, there's the store procedure. And you see here it's got executed 1,001 times, and the total duration for all the executions, 430 seconds. So it's quite a lot. OK, so let me go back here. And OK, you see the execution time for all these threads was 45 seconds. So let's keep that number in mind. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-execute the same store procedure, the same 1,001 times, but now using dbcompat 160. So just bumping up dbcompat to 160, no other changes, and let's see what happens here. So, oh, it's done. OK, so let's look here. It's 428 milliseconds, so much faster than it was before, and for the same execution, same store procedure. And you see that it manifested as a blip here. The throughput is through the roof, and it was so much faster than the previous execution. If I go back to the query store, I now see here that I have this. Look at the query here, the query plan. It's the same query plan I had before with the cluster index scan. And it's being driven by this parameter ID 707. So the first execution that in the previous dbcompat put this plan in the cache. But I have another one. Look at the query is the same, but the plan is much simpler. I have an index seek there. I have a key lookup. And look at the thickness of the lines. They're retrieving very few rows. And if I go to the parameter list here, and I can see that the compiled value is 1, which is mapping to most of my executions. So now I have 2 plans in the cache and 2 plans also stored in the query store for this plan. And if I go here, I see, there you go, the same query text, 1,000 executions here, 1 execution here, so 1,001, and look at the total duration for both, much, much smaller. And this is the power of intelligent query processing. Just by bumping to dbcompat 160, I just got better performance out of the box, and I didn't do any code changes. Okay. Thank you all.
Buck, I'm stealing that thing, man.
You should
stealing
totally
I'm going
steal
to
it.
do that myself
not
in the
gonna-
keynote. I want to tell Pedro I'm
don't
doing it,
tell,
but yeah,
don't tell Pedro
Oh.
that we're not coming either. I mean, that's,
Oh.
yeah, don't tell Pedro he's not coming.
Oh.
But yes, just steal the demo.
Oh, okay. But I have more.
Okay.
I mean,
you've
if I
got
was
more to
doing the
do?
keynote, I have
If
more.
You're doing the keynote.
Okay,
All right,
yeah,
I'll tell you what,
yeah.
keep going. Act like, again, pretend there's an audience.
Do I have to
Corporate
stand
Bob,
right there
you
again?
need to stand right here.
Just straddle
Okay,
this.
good.
Okay.
And just, okay, remember you're corporate, you're doing your thing.
Bob Ward, right?
Bob Ward,
Right.
right.
Okay, so second part of this whole thing is the engine, right? Scalable engine, secure engine. It's about SQL Ledger. It's about system page latch concurrency, trying to keep solving those TempDB latch problems you have. It's about features like Intel Quick Assist, partnering with Intel to make backup compression better, faster, less CPU overhead. These are just some of the examples of things that we're baking into the engine, what we call an industry-proven engine. And if I think about Ledger, I think about the pain and the request customers have had. They love blockchain as a technology for tamper-resistant and tamper-ever track record of data. But they want it in a centralized system like SQL. So what we're doing in SQL Ledger is we're infusing it with T-SQL and system tables and tables in our database to provide a history of Ledger, not just what has changed, but who actually made the changes, and cryptographic hashes to verify that tamper resistance. Amazing technology. What do you think, Buck? You like that Ledger thing, right?
It's good, but
I've heard you like it.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it's
You
pretty
know,
cool.
I heard you were talking the other day to the team, and you talked about you might be able to hack it and get around it.
I can't show that. I was able to track, I was doing the Ledger changes, and you can't really track me. You know, I know SQL pretty well, so.
You know, you better practice this before.
Oh, let's practice it.
Okay,
I'll show
yeah,
it to you.
'cause
Let me go
I don't-
over
I don't
here.
know,
Where
Bob.
is this
It's,
thing?
right there.
No.
Yeah, just go there.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
go there.
okay. Oh.
Yeah, just go here. I was doing
What
something
the
earlier.
heck? It's becoming a nightmare.
Okay.
Okay, so, Buck, here's like a notebook I created, right?
Is that a Tron disk?
That's like a Tron disk.
Okay,
But it's
never
the
mind.
red disk. That's
Okay,
the bad guy.
that's the bad guy, okay.
Oh, okay. Anyways, so Buck, what I'm doing is I'm just running a query, because I'm this DBA guy. So I'm just running a query against an employee database to look at salaries. And I can see all these salaries of people that I like to kind of, and I'm thinking about trying to increase the salary of somebody. I'm a rogue DBA, so I just run this update and just increase somebody's salary. But of course, I'm just the DBA, so you really don't know I'm the DBA, so, right?
I remember when you were talking to the team,
Yeah.
they said that they actually can find that, remember?
How's that?
Well, you just go here.
You're running SQL Server 2022.
Yeah, it fights for the users, and so.
Fights for the users, I love that, yeah.
So here's the deal.
What are you running?
I think we actually saw, because.
Is this that Ledger? Is this
yeah,
the Ledger?
this is the Ledger transactions. So
Well,
I
but
can
I'm the
actually
DBA though.
see that you did that.
Huh, okay. So you
Yeah,
saw it was me.
You're the DBO. You could do it.
Fine. That's just an update.
Yeah, but okay.
I have other ways. So actually, now that I think about it, Buck, I'll let you kind of see if you can do it. I know somebody that knows the app for HR, you know, the app type thing.
Okay.
So I just have I'm a friend of theirs, and the app is legitimate. So you really can't track the app, can you? Well, you don't know who in the app did it. You just know the app did it.
But I know the app ran. Okay.
Well, so, I mean, you
Okay.
probably, your little ledger probably just shows the fact, catch number 2?
No.
What is that?
No. So
See, it says app right there. The
Yeah,
app made the change, right?
It did, but
Yeah.
Bob, this is Ledger Technology,
Oh,
so I can actually join. There's a thing called SQL joins. I'll talk to you about those later.
So
And
Flynn is the
yeah.
friend of mine from the
yeah,
app.
so I'm going to go
Do you
talk
show
to
the
Flynn.
update statement for Flynn?
I show the statement he ran.
Fine.
Yeah.
But what I did is I went in and I created a stored procedure. All I want to do is I want to verify the employees in the database.
Verify.
Because I know how to write T-SQL.
Bob, your
Right.
stored procedures don't just verify. You're going after.
Wait, look right here. If you run it, you can see employee records verified. So
Bob.
ledger that.
Bob.
Try it.
You're going after the system tables, aren't you?
I don't know anything about system tables. What are you talking about, man?
Okay.
May in CSS days, I might have known how to do
All
some
right,
of that.
so what
What's
we're
a-
going to do.
What's a digest?
The digest is actually sort of that blockchain thing you were asking about. And I ran that before.
You are for the users, actually.
Yeah, and
So what is it going to show this time?
You're just verifying tables. I run the
okay,
the
go for it,
hashes,
go
yeah.
for it. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. It's just the, oh, hey, yeah, okay,
Yeah,
keep going, keep
okay.
going. Your ledger doesn't show anything. Good try, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I've got a
What?
hash of the table, and I've got
What's
a
that?
digest of the table.
What's this verification
And I've got
thing?
a stored thing of my own that says the blocks don't match. So I'm going to go find out
I got
who
it, I got it,
changed
I
the
got it, I got it,
tables.
I got it, I got it, I got it. I got one more. I got a new stored procedure, the second version of the verify employees. It says it's verified, so try that, Mr. Ledger Digest guy.
Bob, you're not going outside of SQL Server and hitting the pages on the disk, are you?
There was a day where Paul Randall and I knew how to hit
Let's go
pages, so
see if
yeah,
I
sure.
can find
yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
Bob,
yeah.
no. Okay, so what you don't know, do you see
What
that?
is this nice final drive thing? What are you doing?
What do you
How did
see
you do
here?
that?
Okay, look.
I was all inside the server.
Yeah, but we've got the ledger actually stored in secure storage that's encrypted that you can't get to even if you're the DBA. And guess what?
What are you
Remember that stored procedure I ran before to catch you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can check that secured storage, and the hash blocks still don't
What are you
match,
trying to
Bob.
say?
I'm saying that this is Bob proof.
Ledger's Bob proof.
Ledger is Bob proof.
We might have to show that at the keynote. That might be kind of cool,
Okay,
actually.
we'll do that.
Okay.
We'll do that in the
Okay,
keynote.
okay,
All right. Back to your thing.
Back to
Yeah,
my
let's
thing,
go
back
back
to
to
my
the
thing. Come on, back
slides.
to my thing.
Pop the slides up. Go back to that.
Let's go to the slide.
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh, the slides, yeah.
Right.
You want me to keep
Is there more?
going? Oh, you know, what is BW squared? Is that Ben
Well,
Weissman?
No.
Oh,
it's Buck
okay.
Woody.
Oh,
And then
okay.
the other BW,
But I like the
Bob
Tron
Ward.
cycle thing.
You like
so
the Tron cycle?
I have some more.
All right, back to the corporate. Pretend there's
Okay,
folks.
so Buck, it's business continuity. So, oh wait, I'm supposed to.
Talk to them.
Okay.
Yep.
Bob Ward from Microsoft.
Imagine an audience.
Okay. The third area is disaster recovery. It's not just difficult to set up a DR site. It's hard to maintain it. How about scenarios where somebody sets up and maintains your DR site and leaves your company and forgets to tell you how they all set the whole thing up, right? That's a pain. Why not use the power of managed instance as a managed disaster recovery site? Why not just link SQL Server to managed instance as your DR site and let it be all managed for you by Microsoft as a platform as a service? And then actually, when you're ready, SQL Server back online, you could fail back to that SQL Server as your primary replica. Buck, this is really, what do you think? This is really cool technology,
I like
right?
it.
Yeah.
Do you have a demo?
Exactly. Buck, I actually did build a demo.
You have one.
I do have one,
You're
right?
going to do your own work.
But I'm not going to show it. I mean,
Just go
should I
for
do
it.
like I'm
Yeah,
really doing
Nobody's
it?
going to see it till we get there.
Okay, but I'm not sure if it's really ready. But
Just go for it.
but nobody's going to see it here, right?
Not till we get there.
Not till we get there.
Nobody's
Okay,
here.
all right. So what I've got right here, I'm connected to Management Studio to SQL Server 2022. I've also got a connection here to Managed Instance.
Right.
And I've restored the Wide World Importers database. We use that database Buck all the time, right? So I've got all that ready to go. And so what I'd like to do is, using a new feature in SSMS, I'd like to replicate that database, Wide World Importers, to Managed Instance. So through this process, I'm going to pick my database. I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to go log into Azure. It's going to walk me through the process of logging with my account. I'm going to go pick my subscription.
Right.
And then I'm going to pick the managed instance I've already deployed. I need to deploy a managed instance already. So I'll provide some credentials as part of this. I've got it verified. This is my resource group, my managed instance. I'm using SQL authentication in this case, so I'll provide my admin account for my managed instance that's deployed. And that managed instance can be a general purpose or a business critical service tier. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
So I've got it logged in, and the wizard is going to prompt me next. It's going to provide some information about an availability group. So what's really cool about this is that we are providing an availability group for you behind the scenes, even if you don't have one. We're doing that because we're using the built-in capabilities of SQL with availability groups and distributed availability groups. So we're also going to use the built-in capabilities of AGs for seeding. So we're going to seed that database into managed instance. And when I'm done, I'd like to kind of go verify what I have. So I'm connected to my local SQL. I can verify this is the primary. This is kind of the version of the database that's used for that primary. And you can see here in Object Explorer, I'm synchronized already. And you can see also availability group and a distributed availability group are built for me. The wizard did all that for me to T-SQL, actually.
Nice.
I can do it in T-SQL. Now, what I'd like to do is also connect to this managed instance. What does it look like? Well, since it's now my DR site, it's set up for read-only in this case, but notice the database version now matches SQL Server 2022. It's compatible. That way I can go back and forth at some point if I needed to do that.
Nice.
So I'm going to refresh and managed instance the wide world importers database. And I'm going to verify that the tables are that you would expect. Buck, you've used wide world lineage before, so you see all these different things that are there, right?
Right.
Now, what I'd like to do is be able to make changes now in my primary, and what I've done is I've created some example tables, vehicles with cities, and a vehicle to track the cargo that goes with those particular vehicles in particular cities. You know, Buck, I'm from Texas, you know, so I put some cities in here from Texas, and I've got some
Even in the dream.
Yeah, and even in the dream. And I've got some random values of how much cargo goes with certain cities. I'm going to run that against my local SQL server, and I expect to quickly run a query against managed instance. This is the tied to the managed instance query. I'd like to run this right here, kind of an aggregation query, do it, and I expect my counts. And that's just immediate. This shows right up. So now I'm synchronized, and I'm seeing changes in my managed instance. And if I go down here in Object Explorer, if I kind of go down here a little bit further, I can refresh, and I can see the vehicle table and the vehicle stock item table, they exist now. So what I'd like to be able to do at this point is, if there's a problem with SQL Server 2022, I'd like to fail over. So it's kind of it's more of a manual failover process at this point, but I'm going to use SSMS to say I'd like to fail over the database. And I'm going to go through a process to pick what I want to fail over to. I still need to log into Azure at this particular point and make sure I'm connected to that managed instance. So I'll log into my Azure account with my subscription. Now I'm going to do what's called a planned failover. I'm going to make sure my workload has stopped its quiescent. I've made that confirmation. And if I hit next, what it's going to allow me to do is to clean up the AG and DAG from SQL Server if I want to, because I'm just failing over.
Automatically.
I don't have to do that. If I'm going to fail back, I would not do that.
Nice.
Now this script is going to run some SQL commands to synchronize my workload. I'm going to do a final sync to make sure I don't lose any data.
That's pretty cool.
In fact, it has some retry logic to do that, because it's a planned failover.
Sure.
So when I finish, and this thing is done synchronizing, I would expect managed instance now to be the primary. So how am I going to go verify that? Well, remember I have that query that I set up here. Notice here the availability group's gone from the primary, because I said I wanted to clean that up. And I'm going to run that query to see that it's now read-write for the managed instance. The version number is still the same. This now becomes my new primary in managed instance. And in fact, what I could do is I could run that script. I'm connected to MI. See right there? And I could run that same script to create tables or insert data or change data, because it's now my primary.
Nice.
And Buck, in a nutshell, that's really the simple version of how we make managed disaster recovery work.
It's pretty good. I like it. I mean, it needs to be cleaned up a lot. It's not polished, but I like it.
It's not Buck Woody ready?
No, it's not
I told you I just did it. I mean, what do you expect me to do? A keynote?
I know.
Exactly.
So that's it then, SQL 2022, and you're
going to we're done.
You're going to
Keynote's over.
So,
oh, no, Buck, here's the problem.
Just so you know, your boss will kill you if you don't talk about Azure.
Well, there's a lot going on in Azure space.
There is.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't have anything ready for the Azure SQL stuff. There's Azure Database, there's Managed Instance, there's VM, there's all these announcements to make, there's all this stuff going on.
And you haven't kept up on it.
I've tried to.
Why?
Well,
because you have somebody that's better than you at that.
Well, there's this colleague of mine, Anna Hoffman, that's pretty good at this stuff. You know, she keeps up with it all the time. She runs this thing called Data Expose. She's always doing this stuff. So, yeah, wish she was here. Wish she was here.
Well, we're not taking her to London.
Yeah, I know.
What we could do, because it's just you and me going.
And it's a dream.
And you're in a dream right now. We can bring her up.
We can do the same thing we did.
We can do the same thing.
Can I just say I would love Anna Hoffman to be here?
You can say that. You can actually say that.
Hi, everyone. I am super excited to be here today and tell you about all the new exciting things happening in the Azure SQL space. Now, remember, when we say Azure SQL, this includes SQL Server on Azure VM, Azure SQL Managed Instance, and Azure SQL Database. And in the theme of Sonic, we're going to see, can you keep up? Now, let's start with SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machines. This is exactly what it sounds like. Just SQL Server running on a virtual machine in Azure. We're going to do some things to make it easier for you to configure, manage your costs, and improve your performance. And an example of one of those things we recently announced is the SQL Best Practice Assessment. Now, this is something that's going to be available for you in the Azure portal today. I'm happy to announce today this is now generally available. This is going to allow you to evaluate your SQL servers running on Azure virtual machines for the best practices. See, like, hey, is TimpDB running on the right disk? Could my queries perform better? Is this configured properly? So that's very exciting, and it's just the beginning. So thanks for keeping up so far. Now, the next thing brings us to Azure SQL Managed Instance. And Bob, whether or not he's in a dream, refers to this as the best of SQL Server mixed with the best of a managed service, because you're going to get all those instance scope capabilities you love, plus a fully managed service that is versionless. Now, the cool thing about the managed instance team at Microsoft is that they're always adding new cool capabilities. And one of those things that I wanted to show you today is data virtualization with ADLS. So let's take a look at how you might get started with this. And for that, I'm going to hop over to Azure Data Studio, where I'm using a SQL notebook and connecting to a managed instance. Just going to make sure this is enabled. And then I have two options, open row set or external tables, depending on what I'm trying to do, ad hoc querying or something more stable that I'm going to use regularly. At the end of the day, it's just SQL. So I'm going to go ahead and create a master key, create a database scope credential, and where it gets interesting is this create external data source. So I'm going to specify, you can see some storage in ADLS, and then I can simply just start querying that. After I specify the format is a Parquet file, and we can start to look at the data in that one file. Now, this is pretty interesting. We can start pulling in some taxi information. However, oftentimes when there's one Parquet file, there's many Parquet files. And this is an example. We can just take a look at count and see how many in the folders have that structure. We see we have 214 files. Okay, so I want to query these using T-SQL. No problem. I can use open row set and just specify the file pattern of the folders. So you see those stars I'm using to grab the year and the month, and I can start to bring all that data in. Even better, I can use those parameters, the patterns that I'm using to grab the file path. So that first item is going to be the year, and that second item is going to be the month. And I can actually bring those in as columns. So in T-SQL, I can see what folder and file or what year and month it's coming from. Now, this is pretty cool, and I can start to do a lot more complicated things here in T-SQL, but maybe I'm feeling a little lazy. I just want to start looking at the data. So I'm going to create a view. And then once I have this view, I can see it show up in my managed instance, and I can start to query it and pretend like it's all those Parquet files is just a SQL table. It's going to be really nice. Now for me, the next step is to evaluate, like, what else can I do with this? So I'm going to switch over to Power BI, and I am not a Power BI guru, so I'm going to leave that to the other folks. I'm just going to do a quick query, connect to this. It's way easier for me to connect to this than try to figure out how to connect to a bunch of Parquet files. And I can start doing data exploration. So play around, do I want this data? Does it relate to other data that's already in my managed instance? Now, let's say I do want to start using this regularly. I want to join it with some other data that I have. And for that, I can create an external table. Now, this is great because it's going to support full statistics. So this is going to help me have a more performant querying and reporting and analytical workloads. Now, going about creating it, again, it's just SQL. Same steps as before, but we're going to add this new step, create external file format. And this format type for this is going to be Parquet. And then I just create a table. I create an external table, but it's the same thing. And we're going to specify the location, the data source, and the file format. And then it's just going to be available in our Azure SQL Managed Instance to query as we want. So we could start to do joins with other tables, other databases in this managed instance, and even start doing some more heavy-duty stuff. So this is a very basic example of how to get started with data virtualization in ADLS, how easy it can be to do T-SQL over all your data. So that's just one exciting thing. And again, this is something that was announced in public preview just last week, and it's not the only thing in public preview that we can announce today. Link feature for SQL Managed Instance, something Bob dreamed about earlier, is also in public preview, and you can see some other things that we are announcing today, including the general availability of custom maintenance windows for Azure SQL Managed Instance and actually database as well. All right, so hopefully we're going fast and you're keeping up, but with sonic speed, we got more to do. So the last, but certainly not least, service in the Azure SQL family is Azure SQL Database. So this has been around since the beginning of Azure, and we've been innovating since then for developers, DBAs, and anyone doing data analytics. So this is great. One of our recent innovations is Azure SQL Hyperscale, and we essentially rebuilt SQL from the ground up to be a cloud-native, scalable service. And one of the things we recently announced was the public preview for named replicas. So I thought we'd take a real fast look at an example of that for a shopping e-commerce application that I have. So let's take a look. So this is my app. You can see you can do a couple things in this app. You can put things in the shopping cart. You can look for things to add to your shopping cart and look at different items. From a performance perspective, I can also take a look at the requests per second, or RPS, that I'm able to put through. This isn't like a huge number of users using this or anything at this point. You see 100 users, 20 workers, around 1,000 RPS. And this is all running on Azure SQL Hyperscale, just a 4 vCore instance. We can start to look at what this data looks like in Azure Data Studio. We can look at things on a cart ID level, the price, the quantity, etc. But in our application, it might be nice if I could just take a cart ID and have a stored procedure that would return the JSON that I need in my application. So we can go ahead and take a look at this. It's going to contain the same data with an entry for each item in my cart. Taking a look at the stored procedure, the cool thing about this is you're able to specify how you want the JSON returned in your application using T-SQL, which is going to make it that much easier to process and build your application. Now, let's say for the case of this, I'm just using this as an API. So I'm calling the API with a shopping cart, able to get the same information from that stored procedure, but the key thing I want you to notice is the used replica name. So this NROLTP, this is just my primary Azure SQL Hyperscale database. I don't have any replicas at this point, but in my application, I built a tagging system. Now this is going to allow, when we go to get the connection string, we can specify a tag. So we can use different connection strings, or in theory, different replicas if they exist, for different things. And that's going to help us kind of get read scale if we had replicas. At this point, we don't. Now, to make it a little interesting, let's go ahead and create some contention. Maybe there are some things that users are doing that are taking some more time, putting some pressure on the application. Now, when we introduce this, we can hop back over and immediately see our requests per second kind of take a hit. So this obviously isn't a good experience for our users, our customers. They might not be sticking around for long if this is what happens. However, with Azure SQL Hyperscale and Public Preview, we have named replicas. So this allows me to create up to 30 named replicas that I can use for read scale. So if we take a look over here, we can just do a quick check to confirm that there aren't any replicas available for the app at this point. But you can see very easily with T-SQL how you can create these named secondaries. You can also use the Azure portal, and they can have different names. They can even have different service objectives. So maybe for reporting, you want a bigger database, and maybe for other things, you want a smaller. Now, for my tagging system, I'm going to add a couple for read, search, reporting, and I'm just going to go ahead and insert this into the table that allows the app to know that it has replicas available. All right, so now we have our replicas. Now we're hoping to get some read scale. So let's go back to the API calls that we were making before, and we're going to make the same exact API call, but I want you to notice that this used replica name is now using replica 02. Same result, but now we're getting some read scale. We're distributing across some of our different readable secondaries and not impacting our primary. You can see from a request per second perspective, we're also able to improve here as well. So with Azure SQL Hyperscale, you can really get read scale. It's not just about limitless storage. It's also about getting great performance and read scalability. I mentioned you can deploy up to 30 of these. You wouldn't have them sitting around all the time, but remember, they only take about 2 minutes to create, so you can get read scale on the fly. So that's Azure SQL Hyperscale. I hope you've been able to keep up, because I have just a few more announcements in this space, including the public preview of zone redundancy for Azure SQL Hyperscale. In Azure SQL, we know we're moving fast, but we're bringing you with us, and I'm really glad to see you keeping up. Thank you.
So that was sonic speed, baby.
That was sonic speed.
But I'm using all that stuff.
You're gonna get it from her? You don't know how to write an app?
Well, of course I don't, but I'm going to go get, I know Davide, I'm going to go get the name replica thing. Okay. I'm going to go get the other one about the polybase stuff. I'm going to use all that stuff in the keynote.
Don't tell her we're not bringing her, though, because she loves London.
She does love London, yeah.
She loves
But that was so cool. I mean,
I like
just like this is really neat. I can just say it. Can I say Buckwitty and you'll disappear? Is that also part of the? No, that doesn't work. Okay,
this isn't that kind of dream, Bob.
It's not. Okay, all right.
So what else you got? You got Azure covered.
Oh, I forgot. So real quick, I forgot to tell you. What I'd like to do, I've got this demo where I want to show you how to migrate from Amazon RDS to SQL Server one command. I got to show that to you. Let me go get it.
No. Hold on. What, say that again.
I can migrate from Amazon RDS to SQL Server one command.
With
nearby
one command?
database. With just one command.
Bob, we don't have time. This is a 1 hour dream.
Oh, okay.
So, right? So I need you to just move on. Why don't you just do it in your session? Remember, you're going to have a session at Bits.
So when I do the session at Bits, I can show it then.
You'll show it then.
Okay,
we'll just show
it.
Let's go.
Okay, keep going. Okay. So are you ready for the next area?
Yeah. Let's do this one. Let's stay corporate and just pretend there's people out here.
Okay, cool. All right, here we go. Bob Ward, Microsoft, Principal Architect. Okay, so the fourth area that we talked about was near real-time analytics. Linking SQL Server to Synapse to make sure that if you see here the challenge, try to reduce the need for ETL. Try to get the data faster into an analytic system like Synapse and try to minimize the effect to your operational workload. So what we're doing with SQL Server 2022 is providing a seamless way in the engine, actually, connecting ourselves with Synapse to take changes through the transaction log, through tables you tell us, feed those into SQL pools, and then all of a sudden you can use the power of Synapse, querying directly against your SQL pools in a scalable way, or combining that information with IoT data through Azure Data Lake and Spark jobs, or even using technologies that you know and love like Power BI on top of this data. All of this taking the burden away from SQL Server so analytic workloads can be a thing like Synapse. Buck, the Synapse Link thing has got legs. I just love this thing, right?
Now, did you build a demo or you got to get somebody else to do it?
I actually built something. It's not quite ready. It's got some really fancy visualizations, so let me show you.
You do? Okay.
Can I show you?
Show the audience.
Oh, show the audience.
Yeah, pretend there's an audience.
Okay. So I've got a SQL Server with wide world importers again. I kind of like that vehicle stock items because I got that Texas vibe to it. You know, I got vehicles and I got stock in the vehicles. So I'm connected to SQL Server right here with wide world importers. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to kind of show you here, I've got the tables built. I've got vehicles and stock items right here inside wide world importers.
They can't see you pointing. Use your mouse. Okay.
Use this mouse?
Okay,
all right, okay. So I'm here. And so what I'd like to do is I'd like to insert some data in there, just kind of populate for vehicles, a single stock item for each one, right?
Okay.
So let me flip over to Synapse Studio, a natural interface for me. And I'm showing you here that I've got a SQL pool, dedicated pool, built into my Synapse workspace. So I'm kind of ready to go. I'm kind of setting myself up now to go feed my data into Synapse.
On-prem in Azure.
In Azure.
Okay.
But there's a couple steps you need to do, okay? First of all, what I need to do is I need to build some link services. I need to tie my Synapse to SQL Server like we talked about.
Right.
And Synapse now has this functionality, it's in preview in Synapse Studio, to tie SQL Server. Now the data in SQL Server from transaction log is not, Synapse doesn't know anything about it. So I need a landing zone. I need a place to take SQL data and put them in file formats that Synapse understands. So I've got a link for that as well. So this is kind of showing you what I've got here for what's called a link connection, now that I've got the service. Here's where I get to pick my tables. I get to decide which tables in SQL Server. You can see right here all the different type of tables.
The on-prem SQL Server.
The on-prem SQL. I took all of them in this particular case, and I'm connecting from SQL Server to Synapse into these SQL pools. So what's going to happen is, when I establish and run this link connection, we're actually going to build SQL dedicated pool tables to match my SQL Server
What's on-prem. Okay,
what's on-prem, right? And here I'm specifying my landing zone, which is this go-between where data is put into files to translate and be ingested into Synapse, right? Okay, so now that this is running and going, what I should be able to do is kind of monitor the connection. I can see that my linked connection is running, and I can go in and see that my tables are replicating. So what we have, if you just, see it's refreshing here. I see they're all replicating. So what we can do is we can seed the data initially from tables into the landing zone through Parquet files. Right? Synapse understands that, so we can use ADF to ingest the files into Synapse. Now, at this point, when I touch any data, first of all, actually what I can really do, because this is SQL and I know SQL, so I can take and look at these tables, and I could run a query. I could run like a SQL query in Synapse Studio. Let me go in here to get the cargo counts. This looked similar when I did that link managed instance demo, because I'm showing you how much cargo exists per vehicle in which city.
But now wait, this is in Synapse.
This is in Synapse, right? Because remember, I already got that data that's replicated.
That's right.
Okay, but what I'd like to do, Buck, because it's near real time, is I'd like to go back into SQL, go back over here, and insert more data into these vehicles, right?
Got it.
Kind of a randomized set of cargoes.
Okay.
Insert it in the local SQL Server, and just go right back into Synapse and show the changes. So let's go do that. Let's go run those.
Okay, good.
So that's in Management Studio. Okay, back to Synapse Studio.
Right.
Run the same query, and if it works, there it is. It is.
Nicely done.
That's really, really cool.
That's going to show well.
Well, but here's the thing, Buck. You know, I'm a visualization guy. So what I have here is these really fancy modern charts that are visual and very appealing. And so this is very familiar to me back in the 1990s when I used to do this work in reporting. So what do you think? I think the visualization aspect could be the highlight of this demo. I think I should include that in the keynote.
Okay.
Well, that's pretty snazzy. Look at the bar chart. I got Dallas and Amarillo and Waco and Arlington.
That's a bar chart, yes.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
You know, it's
keynote worthy.
I don't know if it's keynote worthy. I might.
The SQL part was
maybe the Power BI guys could help us out.
I don't know Power BI.
Well, I tell you what. What if we could get like Patrick LeBlanc, like one of the guys in a cube? What do you think about that?
What are you talking about? I can't get Patrick.
No, we can't
LeBlanc
take him
here.
to London. We're not bringing him to London. But what if
the Patrick LeBlanc guy in the cube?
Right.
Oh, right. Okay.
You could just like say his name.
You mean like Beetlejuice? I could say like, you know, Patrick.
Right. You could do that. You could just say that.
Okay.
Yo! All right. So as soon as we found out that Bits was going to be an arcade theme, Adam and I went out and invested in an arcade. Yes. In 2022, there's still arcades in the United States, believe it or not. And so these guys, they didn't have any analytics about their arcade, and they said, okay, instead of giving us money, can you show us some information about our arcade? And I was like, yeah, sure. And they started telling me what they want. I was like, shh, stop talking. I got this, right? And so the guy was like, oh, we need this. I was like, hold my coffee, right? And so I went over and I created this dashboard for him. And I put the dashboard together, and it only contained 1 year worth of data because I'm in IT and I know what they want, right? I can read their minds. And so I didn't need requirements. And so I loaded the report up, and they were like, well, Patrick, we've been in business for about 20 years, and you're telling us we only make this amount of money. I'm like, no. This is 1 year. They were like, no. We need all of the data. Say, that's a problem, right? That's a problem. And say, we need these reports right now. I was like, oh, I got to fix it. Okay, wait. You guys know what I like to do. Instead of all this talking, let's do what? Let's head over to my laptop. All right, so I created this dashboard for them, and we ran it, and it took a bit. It took a bit for these visuals to render. And if you take a look, it was like 6 seconds, 5 seconds, and no one was happy. You can see they have about a billion gameplays here, lots of points, and they made a substantial amount of money. They're like, well, Patrick, we need this to run so much faster. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I could do that. And it's like, you can't change the schema. You can't change anything about the data model. How are you going to fix this, Patrick? I was like, there's this thing called Synapse. So over in Synapse, I took the queries from Power BI. I ran this query called Explain with Recommendations. Synapse said, go create these materialized views. I was like, materialized views? What's that? I'm a Power BI guy. I don't know anything about SQL, right? And so then I created these materialized views, pop back over to Power BI. Let me show you guys this. Let me show you. So pop back over to Power BI, and I'm going to rerun this report. So I didn't have a lot of time. The only thing I could do was make these visuals about a third faster. So instead of taking 6 seconds, I got them down to about 2 seconds. I didn't change anything in the data. I didn't change anything about the model. All I did was create a few materialized views in Synapse. Now, if that's not the power of Power BI and Synapse coming together, no pun intended, that's pretty impressive, right? All right, so then they said, well, Patrick, we're not important. Our game players are important, and we need a real-time leaderboard. And I'm like, I don't know if Power BI can do that because we got a billion rows worth of data. How do I capture all of this information in real time? Because I got all these people playing games. There's lots of people playing in our arcade, and we're making tons of money. How do we fix this, right? So you can use a feature called hybrid tables in Power BI. You can do this in Power BI, but I'm a little fancy, I will admit. So I use Tabular Editor, and I created these two partitions. One partition is going to cache up all this data. The other partition is going to give me this data in real time. So it's going to be a direct query partition. So instead of pulling it all, as people are playing my games, it's going to write to my database, right? So you can see on this leaderboard right here, everybody's playing. Adam's playing. Even Bob and Buck, they play video games. I play video games. I love Pac-Man. And they were like, we need a real-time leaderboard. We want to know who's competing. And I said, well, I'm the best Pac-Man player. So let's drill into this. Let's see if anybody can compete against Patrick when it comes to Pac-Man. You could see I played Pac-Man 30,000 times over the years. And there's 60,000 gameplays. We made a lot of money off of Pac-Man. And so what I did was I set up auto page refresh on this. So I'm sitting at home, I'm sitting at home, and then we came out to London, and I talked to Adam. I was like, Patrick, by the time you get back from London, I'm going to be the best Pac-Man player, because it's a little competition going on between Adam and I. And I'm like, there's no way you're going to beat me. I played this game. Wait a minute. So Adam told me he was at home. He was so busy he couldn't come to Bits. He had all this work to do. Hang on one second. I got to do something. Hang on one second. Hang on one second. Hang on. Give me 1 second here, guys. Hang on. He's still playing? Wait a minute. He told me he had to go to like this. So the last time I was at Adam's house, I put this camera in his office because I needed to really track if he was really doing all of his work. And apparently, Adam is playing a video game. Look at this. He's only he's moving. He's about to catch you. he's about to catch you. I don't think this is fair. Okay, I'm going to have to, let me see, I'm going to try to get him on the phone. So what Adam told me was, before you get back to Bits, I'm going to be the #1 Pac-Man player. He said, I'm going to beat you out in less than 10 games. And it looks like Adam is already taking over. Adam's #1. Okay, guys, I got to go make a call. I got to go call Adam because I think he needs to get to work. I'm sure there's a lot of things going on the Power BI Cat team that we need to take care of. Thank you guys so much.
Typical Adam Saxton.
I know, right?
He's never doing work.
Man,
he's always doing that
never
stuff.
working. So
I'm going to steal that one, Bug. That's just rock on, man.
Okay.
Texans?
Okay.
Okay, this is a nightmare.
You're not going to steal anything from
I'm
this?
stealing that one, man.
Hey, Bob, you're no Patrick LeBlanc.
Well, who is
okay?
actually? So I don't know anything about it.
Okay. All right. So
Maybe I'll just get Patrick
that's pretty
to do
good,
it.
man.
Yeah.
We'll bring Patrick. Nobody else, but we'll bring Patrick to London.
Okay. Well, not Adam, for sure. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, okay.
He's home playing games.
Yeah.
All right.
Man,
so we got to do something else.
Look, I'm exhausted in this dream, man. I don't know if I can do any more.
There's more. We got like...
Oh, okay. I do have one other area to talk about.
Talk through this. Let's do it quick, and let's get it done.
Okay, let me hammer through this.
Once again, to the audience, pretend there's an audience.
There's an audience, yes. Okay.
Yes, I'm Bob Ward.
Okay, Bob Ward, fifth area. Okay.
Right.
Purview. So the fifth area I talked about earlier was Purview. The ability to get centralized insights and governance, and that's what customers have told us. I got a lot of Azure SQL out there. I've got a huge Azure SQL data estate. How do I do all this? How do I get insights? How do I look at things like lineage? How do I do policy management against everything that I have in my environment? Azure Purview has all those capabilities. I'm so excited to see how this technology is going to land for our customers. Buck, it's really cool, great stuff. Man. Purview is amazing, right? Yeah.
You have a demo for this?
I don't have a demo for this one, though.
You don't have a demo for this one either?
Yeah. No,
okay.
I don't.
Well, we're in your dream. You'll have this put together.
Okay.
By the time we get to London, you need to get this together.
Can I pick another person? Just
I mean, do you know somebody that knows this?
I do know somebody.
Well?
Evangeline White just knows this stuff backwards and forwards, man. Oh, yeah, I saw her demo this one time. I was like, man, if we could get Evangeline White to do a keynote, it'd be great.
Evangeline. I mean, we're going to take her to London, or are you just going to steal her demo like everybody else?
Well, I'll probably steal her demo when she's done. But yeah, but I would like to have her in the keynote if I could.
All right,
so.
well, it's a dream. Let's bring her up.
We can say Evangeline White. We can just say that.
We could just say that,
Oh, okay.
You know, there's a funny thing about this game.
Here we go. Here we go.
So this is Space Invaders, and the original CPU could only animate 24 objects at a time. And so as you would shoot an object, it would actually get faster.
This happens every time I go with Buck anywhere. It's like the dinner. This is like a dinner all over again, right? Buck's telling me the history of something.
Okay.
All right. Now, before we get started here, I think one of the toughest parts about working in analytics is that it's really hard to get a full sense of the data landscape no matter where you are. So that's true whether you're fresh out of college or if you've been in your career for a long time. And you can think about the world around you, that's true the world around you too. So if you probably know the route to your favorite pub or coffee shop by heart, but if you want to get to a place you've never been, you need a map. Purview is a map and a catalog of your organization's data. So here I am in the home screen of the data catalog. This is where you'll come to search for the data you need to create insights. And we know organizations are dealing with more data than ever, so Purview is built to catalog and govern at scale. And as you can see, we've already cataloged millions of assets describing petabytes of data. So let's imagine I'm an analyst, and I want to understand the impact of our most popular venues on our ticket sales. I'll search ticket payments. And you can see I have hundreds of results ranked by relevance across a range of sources. So this table is certified, so that looks really promising. I'm going to drill into it. Right? A lot of the time you need someone to tell you that data is trusted, so that's incredibly important to have this capability. All right, so here in the Overview tab, I can see a description of the asset, the classifications automatically applied when it's scanned in, the full name if I want to connect to it. I can see the exact server and database where it's come from. I can see the glossary terms that have been tagged to the data, and I can also see when it's last updated. And now when I drill into schema, I get really specific information. So column name, again, classifications, sensitivity labels, if we're using those. I can also see the glossary terms tagged to each column and a description of each column's data. Now, before I incorporate this data into my analytics, I want to know where it came from. So I'm going to make sure that I've got trusted experts and go and drill into lineage. Now, notice that there's a lot of detail here, too. We can actually see column-level lineage, so I can see how these different fields are sourced from different tables and landed into this single ticket payment info table. And now, I don't know about you, but how many times have you built an amazing dashboard only to share it and find out that one just like it already existed? So I've been there, and it's the worst. And before I incorporate this data into my analytics, I'm going to look downstream to see if there are existing uses of this data that I might be able to reuse, so I don't have to go duplicate that work. So I'm just going to look downstream, and yeah, sure enough, here's a Power BI dashboard that someone in my organization has already made, so I don't have to duplicate that work. Okay, so I'm just going to switch to an account where I have higher permissions for this next part. Now, let's imagine I'm on a team of data scientists, and we've created a report library that we want to share with the rest of our organization. I can use Purview to not only catalog that data, but actually manage access to it as well. So I'll do that by going to the Policy Center. And I'll just go ahead and create a new policy. I'll give it a name, and we'll call it Marketing Read Access. And I'll give the policy a description, too. And then below this, I have this really nice intuitive way of describing exactly what I want the policy to do. So I'm going to grant read access on this Azure Blob storage. I'm going to find the actual data source that I want. I'll click that. I'll select the reports and add them. And I'm going to grant access to all of the full-time employees at my organization. OK, then when I'm ready, I can click Save and Run and publish this policy so it takes effect. OK, so before this last feature, I have a confession to make. I actually have a love-hate relationship with SQL stored procedures. Now, I know where I am, so before you come at me, let me explain. When I was an analyst, this was where a lot of the magic of data analytics happened. But later, when I was on a data governance team, I was in this situation where I'd go to our business partners and I'd say, look, we have a data catalog, and we've cataloged millions of assets, and we have lineage. And the question I'd get in every single meeting was always, well, great, but do you have lineage for SQL stored procedures? And I always had to say no, and it killed me. But now you don't. So we just released SQL Dynamic Lineage this week. And now you can finally see lineage for those stored procedures. I just think this is so cool, and we all think the capability is really exciting, so we're really excited to offer it.
Yeah.
OK, thank you so much. That just scratches the surface of what Purview can do. We hope to see you in the deep dive session tomorrow.
Woo, baby, Purview, man. OK.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I didn't like the hate part of that thing, but
no, I don't think you
but
can do that.
but I'm taking that demo too. So
I think we're going to have to bring her as well.
Well, definitely, yeah.
And
no
you
question,
know, if Anna finds out she's coming, Anna's going to want to come.
Right. Yeah.
And if Pedro finds out,
I guess we should bring all of those.
We'll bring them all.
Yeah,
we'll bring them all. But that way, you don't have to do any demos.
Buck, this has been great. I mean, I'm thinking about what I'm doing in my dream. I love the fact that I can just work through this, and nobody's heard about it, but I can just practice it all.
No, you just practice.
What I'd really love to do, if I think about it, is make an announcement.
I mean, at the event?
Well, no, I'm just in a dream, right? So I can just say what I want, right?
OK, hold on. Right. Remember, corporate says we can't make announcements until PR says we can, so.
Well, but nobody knows. I'm in the dream.
Are you allowed? OK.
I can do what I want, man. So, it's a dream anyways, and nobody knows.
It's a dream. Nobody's going to hear
this. Should I try it?
You're going to make an announcement in your dream, but nobody gets to hear it.
Correct.
All right.
Let me just try it on.
Okay. All right. Oh, this is making me nervous.
Here we go. So what I'm thinking about announcing is the fact that public preview for SQL Server 2022 is going to be here by the first half of this calendar year. So people can download SQL Server.
Wow.
So yeah. Yeah, I'm so
Yeah, but
excited to be able
don't
to.
tell anybody outside the dream, okay?
Okay,
Because
got
marketing
it.
has not,
Yeah.
we've not talked with them.
Exactly.
I
Yeah,
need
exactly.
you to do this.
Exactly. So, Buck, if I think back, though, a little bit what we've talked about.
Right.
If I think about all the things, I got to go back. Okay, this is practice,
Yeah, we're
for
just practicing,
dream,
yeah,
right? So, yeah, okay. But if I think about this is kind of what it feels like today when I first
Yeah,
started, right?
it was a little ragged.
But actually, if I think about it, I've kind of talked about these all connected together.
They
in
are
fact,
connected.
In fact, if you look at this thing right here,
Yeah.
I should lead with this
You
in
should
the
have
keynote.
this as
okay,
the
when
first slide.
when I do the keynote,
Right.
I'll use this one to
Don't
kind of
have
show.
that one we had
I won't
in
have
the
that
dream.
one. It's all exactly.
that's a mess.
So yeah, I mean, I was so excited I get to make the announcement. But actually, Buck, what I think about, in fact, is that if I was doing the actual keynote,
Right.
I would love to talk about all the sessions that we've got in Microsoft, all the ones that are coming here to SQLBits. I mean, this is crazy. It looks like one of those arcade games at the end where the credits are flying through, right? I mean, we have, I don't know, some 54 sessions at SQLBits coming to starting today for the rest of this conference. I am so jazzed that we're back at SQLBits and we have all these wonderful sessions for people. It's just going to be so wonderful. I mean, I as you can tell, I'm just so super excited to see this happen, man. This experience is just so cool, man. I mean, dream sequence complete, Microsoft, the thing and everything. Whew, this has been great. So,
Bob.
What?
Bob.
Yeah.
Dude, wake up. We got to get ready for your
What are you
session.
talking about? What are you talking
You got a session today.
Buck,
You're
wait,
at
what?
Bits.
Buck,
Oh, wake up.
what
Come
are
on,
you
man.
doing?
What have you been
wait,
sleeping?
No, you were in my dream. I was in a dream. I was in a dream. I was in an arcade game. I was practicing the Bits keynote. Wait a minute. You're not
What?
telling me I'm at the
What?
Bits
We're at
already.
Bits. We got to get ready for our session.
No, it's a dream. Listen to this. Anna came here, Pedro came here, Patrick showed up, and Evangeline showed up. They were all in this little dream thing. It was really
Patrick's
we were-
coming to your keynote. Yeah.
No.
okay,
Come on,
on.
it was a big dream
No,
thing. It was really fun. It was
seriously.
cool. You're not gonna, I also made an announcement. Can you believe that?
Whoa. You did what?
I made an announcement. It
No,
was something-
you can't make us go.
Well,
Let's
I
get
know.
to our
I can
session.
do announcements.
Come on,
I'm
man.
Bob. I can
Let's
do
get
that
out
kind of
of here.
stuff. I can do it. Come on.